Welcome, everybody, back to There Will Be Bets. I am your host, Cole Oxane. As always, I am joined by my co-hosts, Jake LaSalle and Drew LaSalle. We're here to break down all of the round 2 NBA matchups. We have basically all but one of our matchups fully set now, and even as we record this, Pistons are up 20 on the Magic. It's going to be the Pistons. The only thing left to determine is if it's going to be Cavs or Raptors in the last round. Otherwise, we have everything set after Game 7 yesterday in Boston, which leads me to a question. Jake, do you have anything you'd like to take back? At the end of the last podcast, you were very high on the Celtics' ability to beat the Knicks. They didn't beat the Sixers. What would you like to take anything back, make any comment, anything off the top here before we get into everything else?
Yeah, I was definitely wrong on the Celtics. I mean, granted, Tatum did not play in last night's game, which obviously hurt them. But I think the real criminal here is Joe Mazzulla. This guy is an absolute idiot. I don't know what kind of 5D chess he thought he was playing, but he shows up with a starting lineup of Baylor Shireman, Luka Garza, and Ron Harper Jr. You probably don't even know who those players are, to be honest. And let me just run you down some numbers here on their output in that game. Baylor Shireman played 22 minutes. He had 0 for 4 with 0 points. Luka Garza played 8 minutes. 0-0-0. So good one there. Ron Harper Jr. played 4 minutes. 0-0-0. Only played 4 minutes, so, he subbed out for a good player, right? Hugo Gonzalez was the guy who subbed out for him early. Played 12 minutes, 0 for 3 with 0 points. What the hell's going on here? Why is Keita and Hauser not in the starting lineup? You literally spotted them a 17-6 lead, and it cost you. Lost by 9. I don't know. I was just so frustrated at the intro. I couldn't even begin to fathom what was going on. I just know they were within 1 with 2 minutes left. The 17-6 spotting cost them. What were you doing? I'll send you an invoice. You'll see it soon.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell was going on. Like, did Joe Mazzulla watch The Town one too many times, get a new idea, like was wondering whose car we're taking? I don't know. And I understand you don't have Tatum. Let's try and do something that they're not going to expect. And maybe he was just trying to put in guys because of how, Derek White, but even then Derek White still started, so I don't know if this is even the case, but like maybe he was trying to just get the 3-point shooting going, right? Because like even Walsh would have been a better option to start that game than some of the guys he started with. So like to me, it was he was trying to get something going on the 3-point shooting, or at the very least confuse Nick Nurse with the whole Tatum being out thing. But yeah, he outsmarted himself. That's one of those where when you try to outthink the room, sometimes you're the idiot. I think that's exactly what happened. I can't agree more with you. I obviously was not the one like banging that table for the Celtics to win the next series or anything, but I was invested in the Celtics. I bet them yesterday to win that game. And, as somebody who was backing them, it was frustrating to watch. Well deserved by Philly, by the way. Embiid finally had a legendary type performance in a Game 7. Maxey is Maxey. He's good. And especially with no Tatum, I mean, Jaylen Brown had an okay game down the stretch. He played very well, but like, probably make the argument that the Sixers had the 2 best players in that game. And then when you have Mazzulla doing that crap, like, yeah, it was never going to go their way, even at home. So, Drew, what were your thoughts? I know, obviously, not as invested, but crazy, right?
Yeah, I don't know if I'd go as far as to say the Sixers had the 2 best players on the floor. I think Brown is still the guy I'd like in that matchup, even if Tatum's on the floor. And he really willed them back into that game because they didn't really have much going offensively up to that point. Yeah, I think Missoula got a little cute out of the gates, spotted them an early lead, and they were playing catch up for the rest of the game. And eventually the threes stopped dropping in the last 5-6 minutes of that game, and the Sixers extended the lead, and here we are, Knicks and Sixers in round 2. And I know we'll get into the overall landscape of the East, but it's ugly, folks. It's really bad. And we'd said, I think Cole and I were in alignment that this was not the same Celtics team from last year that had the versatility on offense to make up for the loss of Tatum. Their bigs aren't really scorers, so all they do is shoot threes, and when they're not dropping, they can be beat on any night.
It was the definition of a team that overachieved all year, and then you got to the playoffs and you weren't playing tanking teams, and you weren't playing teams who obviously half the league was just crap anyway this year. Like, that's what it was. They had to play a real team that got better as the series went on because they got Embiid back, and it showed. That's what happened. I mean, that's just really all it was.
Yeah. I will say the only interesting thing about the game last night was the game within the game. The Brown versus Embiid show was on full display, and it was interesting. A lot of jarring back and forth, and a lot of just ticky tack fouls. But it was an interesting battle between the two.
It was like a good flashback to two stars going at it. That is fun. That is the one thing that you can get in the NBA that you can't get anywhere else. It's just like that superstar versus superstar going at it mentality. We had a little bit of that in the Rockets Lakers game too with LeBron, and I'm sure you guys saw the clip going around of LeBron like calling out Sengun, which again I'm not going to call Sengun a superstar, but even that, like, you just love seeing that stuff. So I guess that'll be the one we'll jump to next, then we can jump to the rest of these series. But real quick, Lakers did get the job done. Jake, I don't want to put you on the spot again. The Rockets were obviously not live, and it was a dreadful performance. But what do we think of that series?
They took two back. Everybody doubted me. Everybody said it was over the day we were doing the clip. They took two back. Now they looked like absolute crap in the third game, but can't win them all. They put up at least a decent fight. I will say that. I honestly thought Durant was possibly going to come back. Clearly they missed him, but obviously the Lakers had injuries too, so you can't say anything. It is what it is. You play with who you got. Either team winning was not going to change the series coming up. We'll talk on it, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. But yeah, I thought they were live for a second, got bought into the hype after the 2 wins in a row, but they were not.
Drew, comment as the Laker fan.
You can hang the banner, forced to Game 6 against a 41-year-old LeBron James. That's the state of the Houston Rockets now, as they have this large Kevin Durant contract on the books and a plethora of young players who can't score. So good luck with that. I think you may have shipped off the wrong player to acquire Kevin Durant, but that's a topic for next year. It's incredible. The Sengun clip was all time. Loved seeing that. He's ridiculous. Defeats Father Time. He's got that Tom Brady component to him where he can pretty much backpack this team, and I don't think it's going to carry into this next series. Unfortunately, they're on the side with the Thunder, but man, it'd be really interesting to see them play against the Spurs. I think they'd maybe have a little bit better chance, but either way, I think it's something you got to tip your cap to with LeBron at this age, still putting up performances like he did in Game 7.
Yeah, very impressive. Very, very insane.
Let's have a real conversation. Again, this is super hypothetical. We all agree the chances of this happening are so low. If LeBron James finds a way to win this series, does that end the GOAT conversation? Like, genuinely asking, does that, like, that's the one thing, right? Like, there's a gigantic underdog against a juggernaut at 41 years old. Like, does it end the GOAT conversation if he finds a way to win this series? Now, given, I don't think he will.
The problem with GOAT conversations is, like, in 5-10 years from now, even if he made it to the championship, I mean, maybe if he made it to the champion, but like, say he wins the series, nobody remembers that. Like, they'll only talk 5-10 years like, oh, what were his championship appearances? What were like, that's the problem with the GOAT talk. What were his numbers, point number? Like, that's the problem with it. Yes, it should, just proof, but like, that's just the issue with that conversation in general, is like, all people bring up is specifics like that.
It should be remembered.
I mean, I'm looking it up right now because I am curious. Yeah, so Michael Jordan wasn't even this old. He was 40 in his last season on the Wizards. So LeBron is doing this at 41, like averaging legitimate numbers. Like, that's my thing. Is like, and I'm a Jordan guy. Like, I will sit here and would argue for Michael Jordan as the GOAT, but I think this could maybe end it if he goes out and just beats a team like the Thunder. Because again, Jordan never even had to do that most of his career. He only did it early on, on the rise, same as LeBron did when he was young. But you couldn't even fathom Wizards Michael Jordan doing this.
Absolutely not. We're looking at I'm seeing plus 12, plus 1,300 odds for them to beat the Thunder. It would be the biggest, not the biggest, I think the second biggest upset in NBA playoff history if they were to do that. And I mean, even this Rockets win, I think they were like, what, plus 500-600? Like, this is like a top 5 to 10 from an odds perspective in terms of series wins. Like, it's, I think you're right, Jake, in that 10, 15 years from now, no one's going to be talking about how LeBron went to the West Finals and had to go through the Thunder to do it. They'll be talking about the 3-1 comeback against the Warriors, the scoring title, all the different things he did in Miami. But I will remember and I will appreciate it. So there's that.
Yeah, it's like everybody will like remember the 41 years old, like still putting up 20 something a game. It's just like those one-off series that are like, this is such an incredible feat in the moment, but just not like people just don't remember it for those type of arguments. And that's like the problem with GOAT arguments.
Yeah, that's probably fair. That's probably fair. But I do think it would be incredible. Now, again, I don't think it's going to happen. And when we get to breaking down that series, in fact, I'm going to put my real U.S. currency on the fact that the exact opposite is going to happen. So we'll get there in a second. But finish reacting to all the other stuff going on. So one other team who, thanks to all this other stuff going on, has slipped through the cracks at like how embarrassing the way their series was. But the Denver Nuggets might be the most embarrassing of all of these teams. Not the Rockets, again, not the Cavaliers if they end up losing to the Raptors, not the Pistons having to go 7 with the Magic. None of this. I think it's the Denver Nuggets. I think that the showing they had in Game 6 to come out and just get beat from start to finish against an Anthony Edwards-less, an Ayo Dosunmu-less Timberwolves team. Also, no Dante DiVincenzo either. Obviously we knew that going in as well. But like, Jokic, where were you, man? Jamal Murray, where were you, man? Like, I don't know. I know that roster is not as great as people think it was, but those guys, like, you'd assume they could win 2 games, and they didn't. So I don't know. Is this the other thing I said to Jake the other day? Are we about to have an uncomfortable conversation about Nikola Jokic in the playoffs? Guy's only made 1 Western Conference Finals. It was the one year they won a title. Otherwise, he's never been there.
Yeah, and I'll say the same thing that we talked about. I think it's more of a realization that Murray is just not as good as people think. Like obviously Jokic, like he struggled, but he was going against one of the better defenders in the NBA. He did struggle, but like his job was, I'm going to, put pressure on them and I'm going to facilitate. And his team kind of let him down. They just weren't making shots. Murray honestly did not have good games. He only had like 12, I think, in game 6. Just was not very good. And I think it's like more of like, obviously Jokic struggled and all the emphasis is on, oh my God, Jokic just lost this insane series. I like, and that's all warranted because he did struggle, but I think more of the emphasis needs to go to Murray and some of these other players. And also how good Aaron Gordon has been for them. Like losing him was very painful. So I think it's just a combination of that, and obviously you're the superstar, everything falls on you. But I think there's more to it than just the Jokic conversation.
Yeah, you took the words out of my mouth with the Gordon thing. I think to see his maturation in the NBA, knowing what he was at Arizona, it's incredible the player he's become. He's more than a role player for the Nuggets, especially with Michael Porter Jr. gone. But yeah, I think there's games that Murray looks a lot more like J.R. Smith than Dwayne Wade, unfortunately, and those are the games where you need Gordon, you need Cam Johnson to step up, and unfortunately that didn't happen. And yeah, it's probably fair to put some of the blame on Jokic as well. Like it is, I think his second trip, or sorry, he's had 2 trips to the West Finals. If you count the bubble season as well when they came back.
Yeah, we don't count the bubble season.
I do.
Then?
I don't know. I wonder. But yeah, they had to beat a Doc Rivers team coming back from 3-1, I think, to get there. And that was the playoff Paul George Clippers. But anyway, yeah, Nuggets, disappointing season. I think a lot of soul searching going into the off season around what do you even do with this team at this point. You likely run it back and try to retool some of the role players a little bit and hope that Gordon is healthy next go around, but they're a distant 3rd, 4th from the up and coming Spurs and the now kings of the NBA, Oklahoma City Thunder.
Wemby's only going to get better, so that gap could even just raise. Like the Thunder aren't going to get any worse. We know that, and I don't think the Nuggets are relatively close to them. And the Spurs are only going to continue getting better. And then that Christian Brown contract is going to hurt them for years because you will not be able to offload it. Ain't nobody taking Christian Brown off your hands. And that's going to hinder what you need to do to build a more of an adequate roster that mirrors more of that 2023 roster that they had that actually could play some defense instead of this roster. And again, they weren't great defensively that year either, but they could play a little bit more defense then. So it's going to be tough for him. And Jokic is, again, he's been phenomenal. A big guy like that eventually is going to slow down. And I don't necessarily know if that's what we saw. I think it was just more the Timberwolves do match up well with the Nuggets and Jokic, but like that window's not as open as the Nuggets probably had hoped. So it is disappointing to see. And yeah, Jamal Murray, we had the Jamal Murray points leader, and to watch it just fizzle out the way it did was so disheartening after the series he had. So that series overall, very frustrating. You hate to see it happen. I do think that we got a more interesting matchup as far as if Anthony Edwards can come back healthy. I think it can be a really interesting series against the Spurs. We'll talk about that when we get there. But so then the only other real question I guess I have, and obviously you can now include pretty much looking over at it now, unless something miraculous happens, is going to be the Pistons. Does the East just suck? You know, after what we saw out of the Celtics, obviously even the Knicks should have won that series in 4 or 5, and they had to go 6. Is it the Knicks, conference to lose? The Cavaliers are still playing with their food. We're yet to see that here on Sunday night. Does the East just suck? Is that really what's going on here on the East? It just stinks, and none of these teams are really that good, or what do we make of this, guys?
I don't know what's going on with the East. I think it's obviously just more like even playing field, like less, obviously the Thunder and the Spurs are just ahead of everybody in the West. And I think this like the East is just, it kind of had, like we said all year, the last like 6 through 6 through 10 teams all were within like 1 game at the end. So like maybe it's just the East just has very dispersed talent, and so these series are more competitive than we thought they were going to be. Obviously me, like I was higher on the Celtics and they obviously did not show up. And I know you were high on the Pistons, but like, we've already talked about just the young team. They're gonna struggle in the playoffs because that's just what happens usually. So I think it's just a mix of that. Just like some older teams, just aren't finding their rhythm, and some younger teams just need time to develop.
If you go all the way back to the beginning of the season and what the outlook was for the Eastern Conference with the Tatum injury in play, the Halliburton injury in play, it was looked at as a wide open pool. And I think that's exactly how it's played out. Obviously, the path and how we got there with Tatum coming back early threw a bit of a wrench into that and kind of threw the East odds for the Celtics into kind of ridiculous value. But I wouldn't go as far as to say the Knicks are in complete control of this. I mean, I think odds makers setting like a plus 215, 220 for the Sixers to win that series is a little indicative of it's a little more open than you might think it is. So as somebody who did take the Knicks to win the East, I will definitely be taking a long, hard look at the Sixers maybe series spread, and we'll get to that in a little bit. But yeah, I think it's really anybody's game. I don't think there's a ton of separation between the Pistons, Knicks, Sixers, and we'll see if the Cavs can end up getting it done now that they're back in the United States.
Customs definitely reared its ugly head there.
I don't know if there's been a better take on this show than the impact Customs has had on the team.
Hey, I also would like to throw out, Cole put me on the spot for both of my when I was wrongs. I noticed he didn't put me on the spot. I was the one who said before the Nuggets series, I have the notes here, are the T-Wolves live? I noticed he didn't put me on the spot for that one. And when I said the Cavs are not very good, I don't remember you putting me on the spot for this one.
Guy's looking.
Yeah, the only thing with that is we all were all over the Cavs. Like, so if you go back to our first episode, like we all were talking Cavs.
But I did say that I don't think the Cavs are very good. I think everybody is too high on them. Now, I didn't think it was going to be in this series, but I would just like to say, was not put on the spot for those when Jake was right. Only the when Jake was wrong.
No, we shout failures and whisper accomplishments on the show. That's what we do.
Where Colin was wrong, where Colin was right. Colin Cowherd special.
Yeah, so the only other thing I was going to say that we could wrap up kind of the reaction talk is one interesting stat I did see, and I think this is indicative of exactly what we all think will play out, regardless of who comes out of the West, It's been over 10 years since the team that won the title had to go more than 5 games in their first series. Only 2 teams this year went less than 5 games. It's the Spurs and the Thunder, who are the 2 favorites to win the title. So, again, history might be telling us this is pretty simple. Doesn't matter who comes out of the East. As long as it's one of those 2 out of the West, that's who's going to win it. We'll see how it plays out, but I think it's all matching up to exactly what Drew just explained, which is we knew there was one juggernaut, a second very powerful team that could defeat the juggernaut emerged in their conference, and you kind of just have the kids' table over here, and one of them will eventually play the winner of the Western Conference. So it's all playing out like that. We'll see if anything else crazy happens. We'll break down all these series here in a minute. Before we get in there, I do have one rant to get off my chest. And this is targeted at anybody who tries to tell me that the NBA is such a vastly superior product to watch compared to college basketball because of the shot making. Have you watched the games over the last week? Don't get me started about games like Game 6 of the Pistons Magic series, where I think the Magic made 4 field goals in the entire second half. Or did you watch the Rockets put up 78 points against the Lakers? Or how about the 76ers Celtics game and essentially the college lineup that Joe Mazzulla ran out there? I don't ever want to hear from anyone again that it's that vastly superior. The Michigan Wolverines were more entertaining to watch than 80% of what I've seen in this NBA playoffs. And that's just the way it is now, especially given NIL and how good some of these college teams are. I'm not saying that there aren't still elite shot makers in the NBA. They are the best in the world. But don't tell me that this is a wide gap anymore. This is very narrow. Some of these games have been so disgusting that, again, it would make some of these college coaches churn watching the way that these teams were playing. I mean, again, the Houston Rockets in particular, my God, man. Like, they make St. John's look like they can hit shots, and that's saying something if you followed us throughout the college basketball season. So that's my take. I don't want to hear from these people anymore. You've got your fun product. Your regular season stinks. Your postseason can be good at times. College basketball is still superior. I don't want to hear it anymore. I think this year's proof.
I mean, I will say the problem with the NBA in general is just the standing around and just waiting for a one-on-one matchup or a pick and roll. Like, there's just minimal offense being played 70% of the time. It's just sit and watch.
Yeah, you didn't even bring. I think the Celtics had like a 13 or 14 point fourth quarter in game 6 when they lost in Philly. There's some bad offense being played in the NBA, so totally understand the frustration there. We didn't even talk Raptors, Cavs either.
I mean, the Magic's 17-point half is one of the most egregious things I've seen.
It's bad. It's bad out there. So yeah, I just want you guys who think that, rethink it. Okay, just me to you, rethink it a little bit. There's great basketball being played at all levels. And, except when your league kind of stinks, and your league kind of stinks. So that's just where I'm going to leave it. All right, well, now that we've got breaking down the previous series out of the way, we've got a couple of rants out of the way, we're going to drop, as we always do when a new round or a new breakdown starts, we're going to drop some trends we think are applicable and are going to apply to some of our, whether it's our series-long anticipation or our game-to-game breakdowns. And there's 3 big ones I wanted to point out here because they're kind of notable for, number one, how they switch from the first round to where maybe something was true in the first round and then the opposite is true in the second round, or just things that we all kind of believe and have heard and the data to kind of back it up. So the 3 big trends I wanted to point out here: big spreads aren't good now. In the first round, big spreads were good. The data told us that the teams that are favored by a lot tend to win by a lot. Now, that's not the case anymore because now we've eliminated the junk. We've got the better teams left. So teams that are -8 or more have gone 5-15 against the spread since 2016. So first of all, what that tells you, that sample size is not very big. Teams don't tend to be favored by very much. If you notice, this year in the Western Conference, we've got 2 massive favorites who likely will be above that number every game they play, maybe barring the Spurs when Ant gets back situation. But otherwise, every game in the Lakers Thunder is going to be above 8.5. And at least the home games for the Spurs are going to be that way. So we thought that was very notable to say that, hey, we're in kind of uncharted territory here. We don't usually have these big of favorites, and they haven't done well when they've been favored by that much. So just, again, want to put that out there, take all of the injuries and everything into consideration there. The other thing we've noticed is that you want to stay away from small road favorites. When there's road favorites of 4.5 points or less, they're 15-25 straight up, and they are 13-27, which is 32.5% against the spread since 2013. So what that tells us is that these teams that are favored on the road because of power rating or whatever, throw it out the window. It's probably due to home court. It's due to the way the playoffs flow. But all of a sudden, those little numbers tough. So if you're going to lay those numbers, you need to really think through if you like that team in that spot or not. And then finally, we talked about how it was somewhat of a myth in the first round. In the second round, the bounce back, the zigzag theory, comes back in full effect. So teams off of a loss in the second round that are now playing at home, they're 23-13 against the spread. That's 63.9% since 2021. So obviously that's a bigger sample size, so we don't have to go back as far. But it's a positive sample size for somebody who's coming off a loss getting to play at home. So whether it's the underdog coming home for game 3 off of a game 2 loss, or any of these teams, they lose a game and then they get the second game at home, all of that good stuff, or even again later in the series as we go alternating. You lose game 5, you come home for game 6, chances are you're probably going to show up the best. So that's what that stat tells you. But that tells us that the bounce back and the zigzag is real in the second round. Again, these teams are better. They're going to show up in the spots they need to show up in. So those are the 3 stats I want to throw out. Do you guys have any big takeaways or like ways that you're going to apply this into things we're looking at going into this round?
So you got to take the road favorites at -5.5 to -7.5. It's the only time you can take them.
There you go. That's a sweet spot. And that's probably worth noting, right? That like when they're set in that middle ground, it's because they're a substantial favorite, but they're not like overpriced.
Yeah, I think we'll get to the T-Wolves Spurs. I think that's an area I would look. I don't know if I can go all the way to the anti-big spreads and say, oh, the Lakers at 17.5 are a must play, but I'll touch on, we'll get to that game and what I think about that. But very interesting about the big spreads. I think the zigzag piece makes sense given the differences you see between home road splits and things like that.
Yeah, the one I think is the most startling to me is that small home or small road favorite. That's the one that's interesting to me, because basically what that tells you is that, as we know, lines have to be set based on how the odds makers look at a season's worth of data. And to me, that just tells you that in those situations when these teams feel like they're close, they are. And it's just lines have to be set for a certain reason. And so that's where you can find value, is understanding that just because a team is favored doesn't necessarily mean that in this current condition, they are that drastically better of a team, especially when you're getting outside of a possession. I think that's the biggest note for me that like I wouldn't have immediately have thought of. These other two, again, they make perfect sense. Big favorites are probably overvalued. Zigzag, we all know about that. It makes sense to me. It's just that other one is kind of the one that popped out to me. So,
well, it's also teams just don't give up like they do in the regular season. So, you got a regular season line, Lakers are down 13 with in the fourth quarter. They're just going to pack it in and go to the next game. They're not going to do that in the playoffs. So that does factor in, is, teams will actually try. They're playing more defense. They're crashing boards. So it tends to lead to some closer games.
It's a very good point as well. But all right, so yeah, we'll implement obviously those and any other trends and data that we've seen as we break down, all of these series coming up, which we'll do here in a minute. All right, you guys. Well, if you are enjoying this video, make sure you do hit that like button, hit the subscribe button to stay tuned for everything we've got coming through the rest of the playoffs. Hit that notification bell as well so you get notified whenever we drop an episode. We're going to keep on this 2-episode-a-week schedule to make sure that we're getting you all of the latest takes and breakdowns, especially now that we're down to only the 4 series. It means that pretty much every time we do an episode, we'll be able to cover every series. Schedule permitting. Sometimes the NBA does weird stuff with their schedule, but schedule permitting, we'll be able to cover all the series every time we break stuff down. And as always, if you want to see our updated day-to-day picks, especially as injuries and things like that happen, it's going to be very important. We'll be putting our clips out on social media, so follow us at your preferred social medias. We are everywhere at There Will Be Bets, so stay tuned there for that as well. Well, we're going to do some series breakdowns now. Again, as we talked about at the top of the show, all but one of the first-round series are settled at this point, so we're going to break down both the Western Conference one. We'll break down the first of the Eastern Conference, and then we'll throw some general thoughts on the last Eastern Conference series. But we'll start with probably the least exciting one, at least on paper, and that's the Thunder versus Lakers series. We all have a few looks here. I think you might have to get a little exotic with how you find value here, but given that it is such a vast favorite, again, this is one of the craziest big favorites to win the series I've ever seen, at least as I've been paying attention to these numbers. I'm sure if you go back, there's been crazier ones before, but this is a pretty heavy favorite, so we're going to have to get a little creative here, but we've all got at least one or two. Jake, we'll start with you. What are you looking at when it comes to this series?
Yeah, I mean, the initial look is obviously, Thunder sweep, Thunder 4-1. It's just there's not a lot of value because it's, plus 140 or something like that, plus 180. And I could easily see, LeBron willing a game, Reeves willing some games. So I probably will be staying away from those type of bets. Haven't decided, but the one bet I actually do kind of like is Austin Reeves to lead the series in points. You're getting a ton of value because obviously Shea is Shea. But Austin Reeves was putting up some points putting up a ton of points against the Rockets, who are a good defensive team and just came back off of injury. I could see some value in him having to, piggyback this team a little bit and putting up some points. It's going to be an absolute long shot, obviously, but I think there's a little bit of value in it.
I think like Shea is just one of those guys, kind of in like Jokic with the counting stats category. They're just so much better than everybody else that I don't know. I think you're right about the value. I would say, again, I'm not super big into these. I know this is a thing there are people making a killing at right now, is if you bet on the prediction markets, meaning you can sell your share of a certain bet that isn't technically a cash out, it's just selling your share. That might be a way to play Reeves. Is maybe he has a big game one or something. I could see that being a valid strategy. Is at least you're hoping for a slow Shea start. That could be a way too. I get what you're saying with the value. He's the only one. Like there's nobody else in the series that I would take to outscore Shea. He is the only guy. I don't think LeBron shoots enough volume of threes to do it, because even though Shea is not a 3-point shooter, like he's just going to put up 30 plus. That's just what he does. I see it again. Maybe it's worth a sprinkle. And again, if you're willing to lose some couch change on it, who knows, right? Like it's not the end of the world. But otherwise, yeah, I kind of agree with you on the value on the sweep stuff. Drew, what are you looking at here?
Yeah, I thought about the Thunder sweep. I think there's a chance the Lakers could steal one of the home games they play, so I'm going to stay away from anything series related. I'm going to go with DeAndre Ayton game by game. I'm looking at his unders for points, rebounds, PRA, maybe everything. So in 4 games against the Thunder this year, he averaged just under 6 points and 5 rebounds, and that was on 25 to 30 minutes in every single game. So just not a factor against this Thunder backcourt between the different guys they have, Chet being the primary there. But yeah, I'll be looking at 8 and unders all series. I think this guy will continue to get exposed when going up against some actual athletic bigs that can stretch and score inside as needed.
It won't shock me if you see the Lakers go small ball in this series. It won't. I think especially given it would keep Hartenstein, which is a guy who I think would kill them on the glass anyway. Chet's on the floor, great. He's not really a true 5-man. So I could see them just going small ball, playing LeBron at the 5 a lot. The lineups where they put him and Ruiz, the 2 biggest guys, none of that will shock me. So I like that look all the way. I think that also opens up. I noticed Ayton was up in the top names listed for rebounds. I think that opens up a little bit more value on the top guys for rebounds in this series. It's obviously the number 1 and 2 are Chet and Hartenstein. I think if you do see some small ball, you think that's a legitimate strategy we could see. I think that means there's a lot of value on Chet even as the favorite. Again, and maybe if he has a slow start to the series, you don't maybe go game 1 on him. You look game 2 or 3 to come and jump in, especially if you see that play out the way we think it could. I think there'd be value there as well. But I think that's a valid thing that Ayton, we don't love Ayton as it is. And then if he's going to get played off the floor, yeah, I'm all the way there with you. But yeah, so then for me, I was looking at it. Again, I kind of agree with what Jake said. I wanted to be on like a combo of Thunder to win 4-0 and 4-1. The value's just not there. You kind of just have to pick which outcome. Again, take your shot at it. I like what Drew said with maybe the Lakers being able to take one at home, so maybe take a shot at 4-1. But I don't even know if I want to lock that in as a real play for me. I think the only real play you're going to see me making on the series long is I like a shot at the threes leader market. I'm going to try A.J. Mitchell to lead the series in threes. As long as J-Dub is out, A.J. Mitchell's going to be getting minutes. He's been firing threes, at least in the series against the Suns. He fired quite a few threes. The good news with this series is that Shea's not a big 3-point shooter. Biggest competition's Austin Reeves. He's coming back from the injury. Maybe he'll be a little bit more inefficient. He's like plus 1,000. I think it's worth a little sprinkle. Again, nothing big there, but the good news with the Thunder is they don't have like a 3-point sniper. It's one thing they just don't have. Like Caruso is probably their best consistent 3-point shooter, but he's not going to be a threat to put up 20 plus threes. So I think it's worth a shot there. That's kind of the only real thing I think I'll be playing, at least to start. Otherwise, we're going to have to play this game by game. We'll break that down when we talk about the game itself for game 1. But any other looks, any other thoughts on the series, guys? Or is this, we just have to wait and see? I think we're all kind of in agreement with this. We just have to see what's going to happen in game 1 because it could just get ugly fast.
Yeah, it's just a tough series.
Let's move on to what at least currently is a heavy chalk series, but Anthony Edwards could come back and make this interesting. We'll talk about the Spurs, Timberwolves. I think there's more value to be had here, given especially the anticipation of Ant. I think I read this morning, they're thinking sometime when they go back to Minnesota, whether it's game 3 or game 4, that's what they're talking for his return, is back in Minnesota. So at least the chances are no setbacks, he could be back. So, Jake, what are you looking at in this series? Are you going to be playing on that angle? Are you going to be all in the Spurs? What are you thinking?
Yeah, I really like this series. One of my favorites looking at some of those lines. I like the T-Wolves in this series. I think we've talked about it before. We saw it with the Pistons. Young teams do struggle. And the Spurs, they got like we kind of knew what was going to happen in the last series. The Blazers aren't very good. They're going up against a real team, a tough team, and we kind of saw Wemby struggle a little bit with a tough defender last series and from time to time, and he's going up against one of the better defenders in the league in Gobert. So I think the T-Wolves have a good matchup against them, and I think they push some games that people aren't thinking. And obviously, if you get Ant back, I think there's even a potential that this series could be live. I'm looking at the T-Wolves series spread. I'll probably sprinkle on the 2.5, or so I think the 1.5, the 2.5, and all the way up to the 3.5. Maybe even take them to win. I like I said, I think there's a potential they could be live. Other thing I was looking at, I did see the Ant news. They were saying probably game 3, but there was actually some chatter that could be game 2. So one of the ones I was looking at is look and see if he is going to be playing game 2 and possibly take his live series points leader because like I said, Wemby's the big scorer and he's going to be down a game. So he's going to be insane value, probably like plus 5,000, plus 8,000. I think there's some tremendous value because if they're going to win any of these games, he's going to have to put the team on his back and score. And then the other one I like is Gobert rebound leader. Like I said in the last series, Wemby kind of struggled on the glass when he was going up against a more physical defensive big man. I kind of like Gobert in this matchup to give him a struggle. And I feel like him with rebound leader, especially with Ant missing a couple of games, there's a lot of value there.
So I think you're pretty spot on with the rebounds with Gobert. I think if you look back at when they played each other the 3 times this year, Gobert out-rebounded Wemby in the 2 that Wemby played in. And I think that that's probably the way to, again, attack the Spurs, is that the rebounds just get more dispersed than they obviously should, given the way Wembanyama can rebound. Now, again, he could go for like a 20-rebound game, could throw everything out the window. The thing that I think this series really hinges on is the dynamic of Rudy Gobert getting played off the floor. And if you look back again, when Wemby played, he dominated this Wolves team. Like you would think matchup wise, same thing we saw against Jokic, that Gobert would be a tough matchup. It's kind of the opposite. Wemby is so good outside that he's been played off the floor in some of these matchups when they've gone against each other. Now I think Gobert missed one of the 3 games, but if you look at these numbers for Wemby, I think he's going to put up a lot of points. I think he's going to put up a lot of shots. I don't think he'll necessarily even have to attack the basket a ton. I think this is more about, can the Timberwolves on offense, especially without Anthony Edwards, take advantage of the Spurs in a smaller lineup where you take Wemby away from the rim because you run with, Julius Randle or somebody like that who can play a little bit more outside. So as far as like the fading Wemby, I don't know if I'm 100% in line there, but I see the logic there. I think it could end up in a position where Wemby maybe struggles to shoot, and then now there's a lot of value there as well. But overall, I think the Gobert rebounds is probably the way. If you're going to fade Wemby, is the way I would go. Drew, what are your thoughts? I'll give the rest of my thoughts here in a minute because I kind of am thinking the same way Jake is, and I need to have a serious question of, should I be thinking this way, and if you guys are going to talk me out of it. But what are you looking at?
I had a similar thought about Gobert. So I wrote down his unders game by game. I really want to see game 1, how it plays out if Wemby is hitting so much from the outside that you see Gobert's minutes just start to get pulled away from him a little bit. And like you said, played off the floor a little bit. The other thing I'm looking at is Terrence Shannon points. I didn't see a series points per game total on him yet, but I imagine it probably comes in maybe like mid to like high single digits. Because his is obviously very dependent on the Ant injury. Is Dosunmu going to play in game 1? But in the 2 games post Ant injury where he was in the lineup completely, huge point totals compared to his season averages. Huge game in game 6 with Dosunmu out. So looking for his series long, but also a game by game for Terrence Shannon. But echo the Gobert piece. I do think the Ant series leader in points is interesting. I wonder if you'd be able to take like a T-Wolves series spread or series win parlay with him to be the points leader, just depending on when he comes back into the fold, if they're down like 2-1 or 2-0 or something like that.
Yeah, the one thought I did have looking at that is, so obviously what scares me is, like I said, Wemby averaged like 30 a game in his games against the Timberwolves. Like, that's what would scare me, is if he does get a 2-game lead on Ant. Like Jake said, if it's just the one game and he comes back game 2, I love what Jake said there. If you see that the game 2, he doesn't play, and it takes till game 3, I think maybe he could be too far. But what you could look at is there are some of these books that will have these props of like Anthony Edwards to have 35 plus or 40 plus points in a game in this series. That could be a way to play it too, because then that would be a way where he could catch up, and then maybe you could jump in on the series points leader if he closes the gap a little bit. But you could play it that way too if you think he is just going to have an explosive game. Obviously, your one concern is that he does come back slow, especially if you do take him as the points leader and then he comes back slow. That would be your other concern. So I think there's ways, like Drew said too, you can play on the Ant coming back angle. Even you could play like if you wanted to go exact outcome and get crazy. Like, let's say, okay, we're going to take, Spurs to win the first 2 and then the Timberwolves to win in 6. Like, Ant comes back and then they, like reverse sweep. Like, I think there's fun ways you can play that too. Like, if you really want to get creative with it, why not go all the way with it? Not just try to call your shot on one guy, but call your shot on the whole team. It's an idea too.
I like that a lot.
I also hear what you guys are saying with the Gobert stuff. I just see with especially without Ant, like I cannot see them limiting his minutes. He's too valuable to their defensive and rebounding team. I feel like they'd switch up a matchup before they take him out.
They can't
but I don't
switch up the matchup. He's such a liability outside. Like,
No,
he's
I'm
great
saying,
inside.
like switch out, like put Randall on him, have him like I don't know. Like I said, I'm not their coach. I feel like he's too valuable, especially without Ant on the floor, for that to happen. But maybe it's a wait and see game 1, see what they're going with.
It could be, because I just have this feeling. I have the feeling the 5 we're gonna see is Dosunmu, McDaniels, Randall, Gobert to start, and then whether it's Terrence Shannon or Naz Reid or any of these other guys. But I just have this feeling that very quickly it's going to turn into Randall at the 5. That's just what I think is going to happen. But again, maybe I'm totally off base with that.
Yeah, and it's a valid concern. It's just you obviously just don't want to get your hand caught where it's like, oh, you were right, and then Wemby had 6 rebounds and Gobert had 12, and he's got a 6 rebound lead, and then there's no value. But also, you don't want to, like you said.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think rebounds is the way if you're going to do it. I think maybe you play him to be the rebound leader, and then you also look at fading his points, like Drew said. I think that's probably the best way to do it, because that aligns. And at the end of the day, it's Gobert. Like, under points, he could play his full minutes and go under his points. Like, he did that in the Nuggets series a couple times. Like, that's not especially if he's on the floor, Wemby's covering him. That's not an easy matchup for a guy who already struggles to score. So maybe that is the way you do it, is look under points. And again, maybe if he pops for like those series averages, some of the places let you parlay it. Maybe go like over rebounds, under points parlay. Like, that could be a way to do it. I don't know. Like I said, I think this series, there's room to get creative. But so that leads me to kind of what I'm thinking. And I need you guys to tell me if I'm crazy or not. Because even though I just explained what could happen to the Timberwolves, I kind of like it if they end up having to play small. Jake was pitching it. I want to go all in. I want to go all in on Timberwolves plus 3.5, plus 2.5. I want to take Timberwolves to win the series. I want to throw some exact. Like, am I crazy for this? Like, this first game, I already took the plus 14.5. We'll talk to that when we get there. Am I crazy for like this love for the Timberwolves? Am I just absolutely taking the bait? Is that what's going on? Like, somebody talked me out of this.
Yeah, I don't have as much love as to go them winning the series necessarily. I think for them to win the series, one of two things would have to happen. Either Edwards comes back by game 3, or Wemby gets banged up again, which I think either is not like a completely unlikely thing to happen. But I think the Spurs are clearly the better team. If Wemby's in the game, in the mix, it's going to be, can the T-Wolves shoot from the outside at a high level to make sure that they're staying in these games? And they certainly still have guys that can do that, even with DiVincenzo out of the mix and Ant out of the mix. But I think it's a big ask for them to win the series if one of those two outcomes doesn't happen that I mentioned.
Yeah, that's probably fair. And I actually think what I'm starting to lean towards, instead of playing the series spread, I think if the Timberwolves win the series, I think they do it in 6 games. And I think they do it with Ant coming back earlier rather than later. So I might just call my shot and take Timberwolves in 6. That might be what I do. And I might even try to sprinkle an exact outcome based on where I think Ant's coming back. And maybe they get a boost for that. Like, I think that's the way I'm going to do this. Just, again, if I think they can win the series, why mess around with all these other numbers? Because if it goes bad, it could go really bad. Like, if Ant doesn't come back, they don't shoot well, it could go really, really bad. So I think that's probably what I will end up doing, is trying to call like a T-Wolves in 6 shot.
Could you do like a Spurs game 1, T-Wolves in 6, like kind of what we were attempting to do with the Rockets-Lakers?
I think you can do game 1 in series. I don't think you can call the game of the series, but you still would get a good value, I think, on Spurs game 1, T-Wolves to win the series.
I mean, that would have to be a pretty sizable number. Yeah. Then you don't have to worry about like when the series win would happen. I mean, there's a chance that if Ant misses the first 2 games, maybe game 7 happens more likely in that scenario than them just winning 4 straight.
Yeah, I think maybe what I'm thinking is I hope they would steal 1 of 2. Same way, I guess it was because of the injury, but the way Portland did. And then you get to come back to Minnesota, get Ant back, then you find a way to maybe win both of them in Minnesota, or at least go win game 5 when Ant's back, like something like that. I don't know. But I think that's enough. I think there's some love there for the Timberwolves generally from us. I think it's just a matter of, again, how you play it. I think we all really agree. You want to look under on Gobert's points. You want to look at him as a rebounder, whether it's for the series or just game by game. One other thing I'm going to throw out there real quick. We tried to hit Dante DiVincenzo, threes leader. Unfortunately, he got hurt. Let's try another Timberwolf for a threes leader in this series. If Ayo plays, I like him to get shots up like he did, and he was shooting pretty well. I think he could keep it going. He's like plus 900. I'll take a shot at that. So that's going to be my official like series player prop pick for this series. All right, well, that's enough of us rambling about whether or not Rudy Gobert is going to be important in the Western Conference. That's way too much thought wasted on Rudy Gobert. So we're going to jump into the Eastern Conference now. I think we're all most excited for this series. It's Celtics versus sorry, Jake. Sorry. It's Knicks versus Sixers.
Wow, the shots.
Yeah, it's Knicks versus Sixers. Obviously, Sixers off of the Game 7 win against the Celtics. Jake, you're up first on this one. What are we thinking in this series? You love a guy that I think he's got some value as well, but what do you got for us?
Yeah, I hope the Knicks were taking notes on that game last night, because holy crap, man. Keita, who most people don't even know who he is, was toning up the glass, getting 17 points, just absolutely dominating down low. So the one thing I like in this series is Cat, series point leader. He is a absolute superstar. He's been kind of leading this team through the last series they were in, and I think it's a terrific matchup. The Sixers team struggles with really strong physical down low, and I think it's a great matchup against Embiid. Embiid's kind of soft and doesn't really play as much defense anymore. So I really like him to lead the series in points. I think you're getting a lot of value, and I will probably be looking to possibly even double or triple down if he falls behind after a game or two. So that's my main look in this series, will be his points, his alts. And then one thing I was looking at was kind of similar to what happened in the last series. The Knicks kind of struggle early in series. And the Sixers looked good. Embiid looked good. As long as he stays healthy, I kind of like the Sixers to go up 2-1 and then lose the series in 6, kind of like we just saw the Knicks do. So that is what I am leaning towards.
I think this series, and this is where it'll get interesting, because obviously Brunson will be the favorite to be the scorer in the series. Maxey will be up there as well, Embiid. So like you could get some value on Cat for sure. I think the series comes down to what they do with Brunson and if they ever have to take him off the floor for defensive reasons. Now, again, he's their best offensive player, but I could see that happening because of the guards that Philadelphia has. You cannot hide Brunson the way they were able to finally hide him against the Hawks and get him off of McCollum. Like, who are you going to put him on? Maxey's going to torment him. VJ Edgecombe has proven he can be an elite scorer. Paul George is out there and too big for him anyway. Like, you cannot hide him. Even Kelly Oubre, if that was who you would try and hide Brunson on, but I think that's a size mismatch too. I think there's a world where Brunson gets played off the court a little bit in this game. And obviously he'll still be there for the offense, but I could see a world where there's a lot of opportunity for Cat to have to be the primary offensive player and the primary ball handler at times in this series. So I love that look a lot. Drew, what are you thinking in this series?
Got I'll go a couple long shots, but I'll start with the more game by game prop that I'll be looking at. We touched on it a couple times in that Hawk series, but I think Josh Hart rebounds plus assists is a good look in this series. If you just look back at his numbers against the Sixers over the last couple of years, he's been sitting in between like the mid-teens all the way up to 20. Even I think he had a 29 a couple of years ago. So we'll definitely be looking there, maybe do some laddering on those rebounds and assists. And then the two long shots I have. So I think about this series a little bit differently. I think given the long series with the Celtics, Game 7, emotional win on the road, I think the Knicks get it done in Game 1. I know the line's sitting at about 7.5, so I'm actually looking at Knicks Game 1, Sixers win the series long shot. I don't have a number on that right now, but I think maybe long extended series, Knicks grab the first one, and then the Sixers kind of play into form as the better team, more deep team, in my opinion, as far as scoring is concerned. The other one I'm looking at in line with Hart, I don't know what his odds are from rebound leader perspective. I know Cat and Embiid are going to be the top two favorites in the mix there, but give me the lunch pail guy, man. This dude has got a motor and he just does not quit. I think it plays into what I mentioned with the rebounds and assists. So give me that long shot as well. Hart rebound series leader.
Yeah, I think that's a fun shot again. I know we tried it the last series. Jake had a good look where he got a good number on that ticket. I think it's worth a shot again. I think Hart's going to be on the floor a lot. I think if I was going to scheme up the defense against this Philly offense, I want him on the floor a lot. You're going to need Bridges on the floor a lot. And that's because you're going to want to try and maximize your wing defense and really limit the perimeter players for the Sixers. And you kind of are just going to have to trust that Cat can outduel Embiid. I think is the way for the Knicks you win this series. So I think Hart's going to be on the floor a lot. And I think he's going to be able to crash the glass against guys like Edgecombe and Maxey, who are not great rebounders. So I think there's a lot of good opportunity there to play it game by game. And again, I already echoed what Jake said with Cat point leader. I think it's a good look given, again, my concerns with Brunson. And I think that if Brunson is not on the floor as much, that also means you have better defenders on Maxey. And then again, you're asking, can I think Cat can outduel Embiid? I think he can. Might be crazy, but I think he can. So I like that look. And then these guys kind of already laid it out. I like the Knicks. I like the Knicks to do the typical Knicks thing. They probably let the series go a game longer than they should. Maybe it's the game 1, they take care of business and they lose game 2. I don't know exactly what it looks like. I think the Knicks can get this done in 6, so that's the shot I'm going to take. I think they can basically go into game 5 at home, take the 3-2 lead, and then go get the job done in the road in Philly as the last 2, and then the first 4 can play out however the first 4 play out. But I'm going to take the plus 500 shot on Knicks in 6. That's how I'm going to play this series. That's probably going to be my main look in this series. Well, then we will jump into the final series in the East. Again, technically, we're recording this. We still don't know if it's Cavs versus Raptors. Point spread's 8.5. You got to assume chances are it'll end up being the Cavaliers, but who the hell knows? What we do know is it will be the Detroit Pistons. They came back from 3-1. They beat the Magic in a grueling, long series. They kind of finally started to round into the form you would hope they would look like. Cade Cunningham's been great. What are we thinking? Obviously, again, it's going to be matchup dependent. I understand that the Cavaliers are quite a different team than the Toronto Raptors when it comes down to it. But what are we thinking on this? Are there anything we're going to be looking on early that we're going to want to come back to later in the series when we actually know the matchup?
I don't really have anything specifically in the matchups of this series, like in a player basis. The one note I had was, I mean, you guys have already known, I do not have a ton of emphasis on the Cavs, and I expect them to win the game today. So I will probably be taking the Pistons in this series, probably in 5 or 6. I just think they're the better team. I think this Cavs team struggles to score, and I think just Cade Cunningham will do Cade Cunningham things and put the team on his back and win this series.
Two plays that I'll be looking at, and more so game by game. I kind of like Tobias Harris rebounds per game over the course of the series. We'll see what that number comes in at, but Sapir, just I think he's going to be on the floor a ton. They're going to need his scoring, and two teams that kind of struggle to score outside of their primary ball handlers in Cunningham and assume Mitchell if the Cavs move on. Other look I'll be looking at is Strauss rebounds over game by game. I think similar story there. I think unders probably play a big part of this series as well. Probably figure the number comes in like the 215 to 220 range in most of these games. So lots of missed jumpers, lots of rebound opportunities, low totals. That's what I'm thinking here.
I think that all very much tracks. I think if you look at the regular season, two things stand out to me, and I don't know how Jake's going to feel about this, and he could tell me I'm wrong. This is a Jalen Duren series. Jalen Duren's coming back in this series. He dominated this team. He was really good because Jarrett Allen stinks. He's not a good defender. And for whatever reason, they won't put Mobley on him. I think it's because he's too physically big for Mobley. And so they won't do that even though Mobley's the better defender. Like, this is a Jalen Duren series. I think his points overs are back. And especially if we get a suppressed number because of how bad he's been in this Magic series, I think there's some value on playing game to game on Jalen Duren. Again, Jake can have his thoughts there. The one series leader play I like is Cade Cunningham to be the assist leader. I guess let me back up for a second. If this plays against the Raptors, there's going to be no value on that because there's no one on the Raptors who's going to be an assist man. If it is the Cavaliers, which is against what I am thinking this matchup is going to be, you're going to see James Harden probably be the assist leader favorite. And I think Cade Cunningham has looked incredible and has been the sole backpack carrying reason the Pistons are even here. And he's been doing it by scoring and facilitating. I think that he can out-facilitate James Harden, especially because I think James Harden could get also played off the floor. You're seeing a theme of what I'm looking at in a lot of these second-round series is these older players who are liabilities on defense being limited because they can't stop these young superstars. And I think if you have to try and have James Harden cover Cade Cunningham, it's not going to go very well. I mean, it's less assist chances for him, more assist chances for Cunningham, who's playing 40 minutes a game at this point. Love that look. Again, you're probably going to get a small plus number. I think he should be the favorite, in my opinion. So that's how I'm going to play the series. Any other thoughts on this series? Again, I know it's very, very, and especially if it ends up being the Raptors, you're going to have to like the Pistons. I think where the Cavaliers struggle with the Raptors at times in this series, I think the Pistons wouldn't have the same issues. I think where the Magic were a really good matchup for the Pistons, Raptors are a very bad matchup for the Pistons, so again, I take kind of all of this with a grain of salt if the Raptors do win. But any other thoughts on this one, guys, or do we kind of just want to wait? We'll touch on it more on Wednesday when we know who they're playing and when we've seen a game.
We need to put a tile tracker in the rim so Jalen Duren can find it.
Not
The hate, man, the hate.
not an apple tile or what is it? Fucking
An Apple AirTag.
an air tag.
Yeah,
I can't-
air tag.
you got tile on my head. People still use tiles.
I think. No, tile was like the original one, right?
Yeah,
or
they got-
something.
Hey,
I don't
Tile, if
remember.
you're out there watching this, we would love a sponsorship. We
can-
don't use AirTags,
we
man.
can-
We use the OG.
We can bring you back from the dead.
Got the sponsorship. Help Jalen Duren find the basket with tile.
For keeping track of your luggage when you go through customs in Toronto.
There
if
we
that's
go.
what they
Full
play.
circle.
Boom. Get the sponsorship going. Call it up.
All right. Well, those are our thoughts. Again, a little light on that series because technically we don't know who the matchup is going to be. We think it's going to be the Cavs and whatnot. All right. We're going to jump in real quick. We'll go through these a little bit quicker because a lot of it's going to mirror what we talked about. We're going to give out our official plays for game one of every one of these series. So we'll go through those real quick here. We're going to start on Monday. First game is Spurs, minus 13.5 versus the Timberwolves. Total is sitting at 216.5. Jake and I are both on the Timberwolves. Jake, why are you on the Timberwolves plus 13.5?
We talked about it. It's just really tough in second round matchups. These teams are a lot better to win by margin, especially a big margin. And I think the Timberwolves, they have a good, solid team across the board, even without Ant. So I like the underdog. I think they're going to keep it close. I don't know about win, but we could see an upset.
Yeah, I like the Timberwolves here too. I think they're feisty. I think they've got a roster built to hit threes and play defense. And I think that's what you got to do to beat the Spurs. I know we have our questions about Gobert. I kind of hope that the Timberwolves go small here. But as we've talked about in the playoffs, if you like a team to cover, you like them to win. So I'm going to take the Timberwolves. Probably see me sprinkling a little bit on the money line. You're going to get a nice juicy number there. Let's see. Maybe this is the game they steal without Ant. So I'm there as well. Drew, what do you got in this game?
Yeah, I'm going Terrence Shannon, points, ladder. Love it, especially if Dosunmu doesn't play. You'll see his minutes spike up. And the other part of this, I think you could see the 3 volume be there for him. In the games he played over 20, 25 minutes, you saw 5, 6, 7 threes from Shannon, even though he's not the most efficient 3-point shooter. So I like it even if Dosunmu plays. I think you probably get his number, like I said, in like the high single digits, but like the ladder on a team where the shots are going to be needed from the outside, and Terrence Shannon certainly dynamic enough offensive player to get into the mix.
I like it. What can go wrong? We're all very high on a 14-point underdog and all the players on their team. What could possibly go wrong? But all right, that's our thoughts on game one. Let's move over to the other Monday night game. It's going to be Knicks versus Sixers. Knicks minus 7.5. Total sitting at 212.5. Drew, you've said it before. You said this thing's a printing press. We're all on it. Explain to us the case here on Knicks first half.
Yeah, it's been money all series. Even in games when they've lost, they've found a way to wait for the collapse to happen until the second half. But they just jump on teams. It's been their MO most of this season into the playoffs, and it goes into what I mentioned around them winning this first game series, Sixers coming off of a long series, emotional Game 7 win, something that Embiid and Maxey have not accomplished in their careers. So I think you might see a flat Sixers team coming out of the gate. So I would jump on this first half line now, seeing it -4, -4.5. I think that's something we'll likely look at alts on as well.
Yeah, love it. Jake, I know you're there too. You and I also agree on another play. Give me the case for cat points in game 1.
Yeah, we already talked about it. Kata dominated. Down low, the Sixers have struggled stopping interior points in the series, and Cat's been really good in the playoffs. I really like him to start off the series strong. And like you said, I just don't know what they're gonna do with their with Brunson because the defensive liability is a real issue, especially with Maxey and these superstars on the outside. So I really like Cat in this matchup.
Yeah, love it. Love it. I also think the underrated part people aren't talking about is traditionally the best way to beat Embiid is take him outside. And Cat would love to do that. Cat would love to take him out to the 3-point line, go big man pick and rolls, drive him to the lane. I think there's going to be opportunity to do that too. So love Cat here. I know the number is going to be sitting in the low 20s. I like it pretty much anything under 25. I think it's a play for me no matter what. Pretty much the whole series as well, but definitely in game 1.
I will say, Johannes Gutenberg definitely had the Knicks first half in mind when he invented the printing press.
Is that who invented it?
That's a pull, man. The Gutenberg printing press.
Yeah.
Yes, that is who invented the printing press.
Good Lord.
Well, the only other printing press I think has been for the Knicks has been Josh Hart, rebounds plus assists. Love it in game 1. Like I said, I think he's going to play a lot of minutes. He's going to play a lot of minutes, especially because of his need on defense. And I don't think there's a lot of great rebounders on the perimeter for the 76ers. So I think this will be heavily carried by the rebounds. But again, his floor on assists sits around 4, and he gets there consistently. I like it a lot. It's going to be in that mid-teens. Love it. So that's where I'm going to go in this game as well. All right, well, then we'll hop to Tuesday. Again, this one's probably the least exciting, but I think there's a couple ways you can play this one, make it a little exciting for you. It's Thunder minus 15.5 versus the Lakers. Total sitting at 213.5. Don't be shocked if the Thunder take a ton of money and this ends up 16-17. So if you like the Lakers, I think you probably want to wait. Other than that, Jake, I know you don't really have a play in game 1 here. You just are kind of waiting and seeing.
Yeah, I just like this is the one series I just don't really have a lot of read on. I like I mentioned earlier, I do like the Austin Reeves look, so I'll probably wait and see and just see how that matchup plays, see how he's firing in the first game.
Fair enough. Drew, you're gonna. I don't know. Is this a homer pick? I don't know what you're thinking here, but like you're on possibly the Lakers in a capacity in game 1. Give me the case.
Yeah, I'm gonna look first quarter, first half Lakers. I think for the most part, this is a play on the Thunder have been sitting on their asses for a little over a week by the time this gets played. So purely a come out flat, little slow out of the gate expectation for the Thunder. By no means do I think the Lakers are live in this game. I don't know if I'll be on the full game spread, but yeah, I like the first half, first quarter numbers. Get the rest that you need for LeBron heading into game 1. He gets his 2-3 days off, and then we get going with the Thunder off of, I think it's 8 days total before they played this next game.
Okay, I see the logic there. I see the logic. I don't know if I can get there personally, but I see the logic of a slow start. It makes fundamental sense. I can't argue with the fundamentals.
Do they have to like go through customs or something? Am I missing something?
Unfortunately not.
Well, yeah, so then the way I'm going to play this game, so I guess let me back up. The case for this game is you have to look at the Thunder alts. You have to think that the Thunder are going to come out and take care of business. But a couple of things scare me. Number one, as Drew pointed out, it's a long rest for the Thunder. Could be a little bit of rust. On top of that, the stat we pointed out, that these big spreads in round 2, the favorites don't tend to cover those numbers. This is a massive spread. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the Lakers team total under 98.5. The Thunder are a defense-first team. The Lakers have proven they can struggle to shoot the ball, and especially if you don't get guys like Kennard and Marcus Smart shooting out of their minds, they could definitely struggle. 3 of the 4 matchups this year between the Thunder and Lakers, the Lakers have gone under 98.5 points. I love that look here. Now, what I will do is, as a bonus play, I will sprinkle on some big alts, because also if you look at those 4 matchups this year, the average margin of victory for the Thunder was 31.25 points. It's insane. They have beat this team down when they have played this year. So I think what I'm going to do is, instead of messing around with the minus 15, if the Lakers are going to cover, they're going to cover. It's going to be a close game. I'm going to play some high-end alts, and I'm going to play their team total under. I'm going to put that together to make my play on the Thunder in this game. I'm going to trust that they can play defense, and I'm going to trust that there is a chance they can just go ahead and belt. So that's how I'm going to play this game instead of just playing the normal spread.
Maybe missing the Luka traffic cone on defense will help them.
Now we're talking.
I don't even know if it matters, man. I was looking back at it, whether Luka was there or not there, Reeves there or not there, because I was even trying to find out, like, is the games they dominated the most were like, they had no guys to score, and it didn't matter. They had all sorts of combinations. Doesn't matter who plays defense. This is not the Rockets anymore. Let's put it that way. This is not
Turns
the
out when the
Rockets
best
anymore.
team in the league plays, they play well. Who'd have thought?
Yeah. Yeah, so that's my thought process there. Anything else on this game, guys? All right, well, then we'll jump over. Again, we talked about the series. I know that we just saw the Pistons win earlier today. We still don't know who the matchup's going to be here, so we're going to tread very lightly here. Anything we like early, just projecting in the Pistons versus Cavs Raptors game? Anything at all that we like?
I think you hit the nail on the head earlier. I think Cade Cunningham overs. I really don't know who the matchup's going to be or how they're going to stop him, but I really don't see it. And on the scoring side, on the facilitating side, I think he's just a tough matchup for the Cavs in general.
Yeah, we'll be going with Strus over rebounds in this one. Just looking back at his game log against the Pistons, went over 5, 6, and several. I think he had an 8 earlier this year. So I think there's going to be a lot of opportunities for him to get on the glass. Going to need his scoring from the outside all series. So I think the minutes are going to be there for him. So I'm going to look at his rebounds over.
All right, that makes sense. So then, as I said as well, don't know what the numbers are going to be. Give me Cade Cunningham over assists. And yes, Jake, give me Jalen Duren over points if it's the Cavaliers. So those will be my 2 plays. I like the assist
Tile
either way for
sponsorship.
Cade. Yeah, we would love that tile sponsorship. I love Cade either way. No matter who they play, I love the Cade assists. Duren, love it more if it's the Cavaliers. Might still be on it. We'll see. Well, everybody, there you have it. A little bit of a long episode, obviously breaking down all these new series plus the upcoming games. We'll be back to a shorter episode come Wednesday. We'll be able to break down all of the game 1 action. We'll know who all the matchups are officially, so we'll get to all that. Kind of the biggest ones we want to highlight on our agree and disagree. We all agree that the Timberwolves could be live, especially if Anthony Edwards comes back. We're all going to be looking to play different ways in that game, but I think we all kind of agreed, whether it's series spread or sprinkling on some Timberwolves outcomes. We like the Timberwolves there. We all agree the Thunder pretty much going to take care of business. Kind of just take your shot on how you think it's going to happen. Sweep 5 games, play it game by game, however that looks. The one where we kind of did have a small head-to-head anyway is Drew thinks the 76ers are live. Jake and I think it's going to be the Knicks series in that one, which is funny. I mean, it's a big flip. I think Jake just, he can't back the team that knocked out his Celtics, so he's going to go Knicks with me. But that'll be that one. We'll talk about it again more when we get here. I think we'll see if Drew's chances come to fruition with that game 1 look he was talking about. Other than that, again, we'll wait on the last series, depending on who it ends up being, playing the Pistons. So we'll get to there. You obviously heard all of our thoughts on game 1, so we won't go through and reiterate. There's a lot of agreement there. So that's kind of where we're at. Again, we'll be back on Wednesday to break all of these other series down. And so if you did enjoy the video and you did grind through this long video with us here today, go ahead and leave a like on the like button. For whatever reason, YouTube is really prioritizing likes right now. So for those of you that have been watching all our videos, we really would appreciate a like on this video. Also hit that subscribe button so you don't miss that episode on Wednesday and the rest of our episodes coming all the way through the NBA season, all the way into June. And then most importantly, hit that bell so you get notified when we put out all of our different posts, whether it's our daily clips or our episodes. Stay tuned on all of our social medias at There Will Be Bets to see our daily picks. That way, when we update things, injuries change, you'll have our most up-to-date information. Otherwise, as always, we want to wish you guys best of luck on your wagers this week. Until we see you next time, thank you for watching, and we'll see you on Wednesday.
Let's have a week.
There you go.